Welcome to the Inspiration North podcasts, inspiring stories from inspirational people and how they found their passion, their true north. I'm James Eves.
And I'm Michelle Minikin, and this is the Inspiration North podcast.
Today's episode, Trust Your Intuition and Know That You're Enough with Anna Price. We talk about how a business can only be better for having people that are different, how being so open and honest can be difficult for people who are more guarded or political, and after you get kicked in the arse, you come back a little stronger.
A senior strategic communications and marketing professional, Anna has devoted her life and career to helping other businesses and people to reach their potential. She does this by working closely with organisations to establish their market position and understand how they can differentiate themselves from the competition by identifying, developing and capitalising on their strengths. She helps businesses to see things from a different perspective. As co-founder and director of the highly successful Rural Business Awards, along with its umbrella organisation, the Rural Business Group, she's also passionate about small rural businesses, and together with co-founder Gemma Clifford is proud of the RBA's considerable success in highlighting hard-working and innovative rurally based British businesses. Anna was most recently head of strategic communications for AIM-listed wealth management business Mattioli Woods plc, before leaving in March 2020 due to the coronavirus outbreak. Anna is a passionate advocate for neurodiversity, having been diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 42. So we're still in the lockdown, so we're still doing these Zoom podcasts. Other podcasting platforms are available. Whereabouts in the world are you, Anna?
I'm actually in Leicestershire, sunny Leicestershire today.
Oh, we haven't got sunshine.
No. Haven't you?
No.
Beautiful here.
Oh, lovely. So we're coming to you live-ish, not really that live at all, from Leicestershire to Newcastle. Did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Short answer is no, not a clue, and I still don't know today, so I don't even know whether I'd be classed as a grown-up, to be honest. So I'm coming up for 46 years old, and I certainly had no clue what I wanted to do. Really, until I was probably 40, it became clearer. So as a kid, I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a nurse, a teacher, fashion designer, and it seemed to change every couple of weeks, really, but not a clue. I think the theme that strung everything together, looking back now, was helping people. And I kind of guess that that's where I've got to as I've got a bit older. I love helping people. So not a clue is the answer, short answer.
Okie. So tell me about your childhood. That sounds like a proper psychiatrist. Are you lying down?
I'm on the couch, yes. No, you can see that I'm not because we're on Zoom. But there we go. Other podcast platforms are available. So I had an idyllic childhood, really. I was born and brought up in the village that I live in now. My parents are still in the village. And I was a very active and sporty child. So I'd always excel at athletics, and they used to make me do cross country and all sorts of different things. And I was also very creative as well. So I was very good at drawing. Generally a very good all-rounder, very well behaved. But yeah, I've always thought of myself as being a little bit different to everybody else, though. I don't know whether you want me to expand on that a little.
Yes, please.
To bring it up to the present day. So about 3 years ago, I was actually diagnosed with having ADHD. So the way that I now reflect on my childhood is very different to how I might have done otherwise, because I can now see that I've had ADHD my whole life. So being an active child was all about the hyperactive state that I find myself in. I don't think I ever sat still. I was always outside, always involved in sport. And then my creative side was very much, I'd disappear down a rabbit hole and spend 3 days doing one drawing. So that was my hyper focus, which is a characteristic of ADHD. And I can remember my teachers saying to me, and the earliest memory of this was probably in juniors at primary school, when my parents went to a parents' evening, and them saying, if she could just focus a little bit on whatever it was she was doing, she'd be really quite good. And that characterised my whole school career, really. I was okay at everything, but I didn't really excel at anything apart from my art and my sport. And I think I've always had a bit of a chip on my shoulder about being smart, because my exam results never really reflected how my brain worked. I think I've always known I'm quite smart, but not really been able to translate that into anything. So I think I've just kind of always looked up to people who've been able to, and we've talked about it, Michelle, train as a doctor or psychiatrist or whatever, because I've just never been able to focus that for that long to be able to qualify as anything in particular.
Okay, so what did you do after school?
So I actually went to university. So part of my thing was playing basketball. I love team sports. Of course, at the age of 17, really didn't have a clue what I wanted to be, still didn't have a clue. So I thought, you know what, I love playing basketball. I'm going to go to university and play basketball. Anna, there's not a degree in basketball. You can't go and do that. I was offered a place at a high school in the USA when I was about 15 to go and study out there, which I turned down because I didn't want to be away from home. And then I decided from that point I'd go and study sport and exercise science at university. So that's what I did. I went away to Cornell Sager Faculty of Manchester Met and studied sport and exercise science, which really, it was a very academic degree, actually. So it was psychology, physiology and biomechanics, research methods, epidemiology, that sort of thing. And I did all right. I got a 2-2. But while I was there, I played an awful lot of basketball, and I represented England at basketball at university level and had a thoroughly marvellous time, and then came back home. When I came back home, I took a temporary job as an illustrator within British Gas, drawing gas boilers.
How is that even a thing?
I don't even know. And do you know the funniest thing was, it was actually... Do you remember the old program called Paint on old computers?
Oh, yes.
Yeah? It was pixels. So I'd go into the pixels and draw these illustrations of gas boilers, detailed, but down to the individual pixels. And they'd look incredible. And I got it down to fine art after about 3 years. So we used to call myself a pixel engineer, because everybody else was engineers within British Gas, so I was a pixel engineer. So I did that for 3 years.
That must be quite a lot of concentration, though, mustn't it?
Well, do you know what? That was part of the hyper-focus thing as well, because it's the...
Yes.
I've always been a perfectionist as well. I've never really classed myself as being a perfectionist, but my therapy more recently has made me understand that I'm a total perfectionist. Not in terms of... I've always thought of perfection as being somebody who's very, very diligent and completes a job, but not in that way, because I start things and never finish them. But in terms of doing the best job that I can with what I've got in front of me, oh my God, yeah, my drawing specifically, I'll send you some of my drawings as well, so you can have a little look at them. They're quite detailed and intricate and very much, perfect. And these pixel engineered drawings were exactly the same. So focusing on that, and then fell into marketing. Fell into it literally. Nobody in British Gas knew about marketing, and so I studied marketing and qualified myself with the Chartered Institute of Marketing. Became one of the first chartered marketers in the UK. And that was about 2000, 2001. And then built my career up at British Gas. I was there 8 years. I worked all over Europe as the gas markets were deregulating. I spent a lot of time travelling. So I was in Hungary, lived in Budapest for a little bit. I worked in Italy, spent time in Florence, and then moved to the US, to Pennsylvania, And spent, well, I'd say moved there. I was there sort of 2 weeks at home, 2 weeks in the States, 2 weeks at home, 2 weeks in the States. A lot of travelling. I was there on September the 11th, and then came home on 2 days after. So the first US flight out of Newark, New Jersey, after September the 11th. I was on it back to the UK, which was a scary time. Yeah, and that was 8 years. I had an absolutely brilliant time, and it taught me an awful lot. That's one of the turning points, really. So I know that. Look, I'm preempting all the questions here because I know one of your next questions. Should I just carry on?
Yeah, keep going. It's great.
All right. One of my turning points really was that I was made redundant from my role at British Gas. And I took that, this is part of ADHD as well, I took that incredibly personally. There's something called, what's it called? Dysphoria. Rejection sensitive dysphoria, which is that I seem to take everything incredibly personally. And if somebody criticises me, it's like actually being stabbed in the chest. I just can't breathe. And to be made redundant when somebody else is given your job, there's two people, there's two of you, there's one job, both of you apply for it. Well, I'm going to get it, aren't I? Because I'm qualified and I'm good at my job. No, I didn't get it. So I took it incredibly personally. And that was really one of my first experiences of being incredibly let down and having to be resilient. And it took me an awful long time to get over that. I was devastated because it was my life, really. I spent 8 years there and made a lot of friends, and then I had to move on, which was incredibly hard.
And you didn't choose to as well. Is that not choosing to move on?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because it wasn't my choice. And so I think it was probably not until I turned 40. So when I really found what it is that I did want to do, I let go of that as well. It stayed with me for an awful long time, and it kind of eats away at your self-esteem. So one of the things that I find now is that I'm actually a very confident person, and I'm very confident in my ability to do my work. So I'm good at what I do. I'm a strategist now these days and a communicator. So I've most recently worked as head of strategic communications for a financial services business. In terms of picking myself up and moving on, I found it very, very difficult to do that. But after British Gas, I got married. And so, being a perfectionist, decided to throw myself into having children. So, there we are. I had two girls, worked part-time for a long time, doing lots of little different things. I worked in a school with kids with extra needs, so I was a classroom assistant for a while, which is quite interesting looking back now, given that my second daughter, so I have two girls, one's 14 and one's 11, and Eloise, my youngest, has Down syndrome. So that was a challenge as well that we navigated. And I have to say, I didn't know when I was pregnant that she had Downs. When she was born, to me it was quite obvious. So I told the midwife, I think she's got Down syndrome, and the midwife said, yes, I think you're probably right. But I'm really proud to say my whole family, it's never been an issue. A lot of parents go through a grieving process of the child that they thought they were having. And I don't think we've ever really done that. I think that from the moment that Eloise was born, she was just Eloise. And we announced it to our friends just as we've got a beautiful baby girl. And by the way, she's got Down syndrome. And that was all it was. And everybody just accepted and maybe had a few tears and kind of felt sorry. But we've always said never be sorry, because there's absolutely nothing to be sorry about with that girl. She's incredible. Both of the girls are incredible. So that was another challenge that I faced, really. Having a child that's different, it teaches you an awful lot. It opens your eyes and your mind to things that you might never have known or realised before. I've never had any negativity, I have to say. And I think that's partly because of the positive outlook that we have. We don't see the negativity. We only see positivity
Mm.
around that. Yeah, and there really isn't anything to be sorry about, and nobody should be sorry. I mean, people with Down syndrome are people at the end of the day, and that's all they need to be loved like everybody else does, and they bring so much incredible joy and tantrums and a bit of raging on occasion, but I think that's more to do with being a teenage girl. But yeah, it's an incredible experience, and everybody's life is better if you've got an extra chromosome in it, I would say. I bet you're all lost now with your questions, aren't you?
No, I was just gonna. And then what's next?
Just going on. Yeah. And what's next? Where have I got to?
So you decided to take
oh yes, took
time
my
off
time
and be a
out.
perfectionist mother, and then you had some little jobs doing bits and pieces,
teaching assistant.
Yeah, I worked for a time as a marketing consultant for a strategic agency, which I learned an awful lot from my boss there. And then I actually decided to take a leap of faith and work for myself. So I think I was explaining to you earlier, it's really not like me. I'm not very into star signs and things, but in around 2012, no, was it?
2013, you said before.
2013, 2012, 2013. I had my birth chart read, so star signs and all that, and I'm thinking, nah, this is just all it's a bit weird for me. I'm a scientist. I don't believe in any of this. But I actually read it, and it was remarkably accurate. Now, whether we take things that we want to believe and twist them to fit our reality, I don't know. But this was something that made me go, oh, this is what I need to do. I need to go and work for myself. It says I'll be okay. So it kind of gave me a kick up the bum to go and do something different. And I quit all my jobs and I started to work for myself. So I worked as a marketing communications consultant and a strategist, worked for businesses all over the UK and in Europe. I got involved in a tech startup in Berlin, and I did that for a couple of years. I was the UK managing director for that, alongside having my private clients as well. Just randomly, as you do. So that was home automation technology, so wireless sensor technology, artificial intelligence, so models, and that was to look after all people in their homes. I think we were a bit before our time though, because it's now become quite commonplace to use automated technology in the home. And when we were trying to get it out there, it was just very, very hard work, and nobody believed it would happen, but evidently we were right, ahead of the curve there. So did a bit of that, and in 2014 I met my now business partner at a networking event again, and she said, will you come and help me, Anna? She was a marketer. I want to set up an agency, and I want to focus on rural, because she was born and brought up very much in isolated rural little villages. So I'm going to do that, Anna. Can you come and help me as a consultant? What can we do to get the word out there? So, I'm doing my consulting, and I decided that what she might be able to do is enter an awards program, because it's always a nice way to raise the profile of your business. And we looked for rural awards, and there were none. So being a bit bonkers, Gemma and I decided that we should set one up. So this was on a Thursday lunchtime at about 12 o'clock, round a kitchen table in rural Leicestershire. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we'd got a headline sponsor, we'd set a date, and we booked a venue. And that was the start of the Rural Business Awards. We had our first final in 2015, and we're still going great guns up to this point. Amazon UK are now our headline sponsors. We hold 6 regional events, regional finals across the country, and a national final every year. So I'm not quite sure what Corona will do to us this year, but we will be having a celebration at some point. So So that was the Rural Business Awards, and alongside that we also set up a CIC, which is the Rural Business Group, which is there to support small rural businesses really with advice and guidance and point them in the right direction of where to go and find business information, and help them. And we're helping them through at the moment through Corona, so that's quite interesting.
There's a bit of a theme that you've always got more than one venture going on at the same time.
How do I have time to do everything? I really don't know, and I'm totally disorganized as well. So one of the things that does really help me, and I've realized that in the last, probably, how old am I now? 46. Probably in the last 5 years, is that my success has come since the age of 40, and it's because I'm surrounded by people that facilitate me doing what I do best. So rather than me trying to be the person that finishes everything off, I've had people around me that have done the finishing off for me and are better at the detail than I am. I'm marvellous at going out and creating a big storm about things. So for the Rural Business Group, I've travelled to Westminster, I've worked with the Prime Minister's office, I've given evidence to the House of Lords Select Committee on the rural economy. I'm just thinking of a story which I'm not going to repeat now.
Oh yeah, I met you in the House of Lords, didn't I?
Yes, you did. We met in the House of Lords, didn't we, Michelle? Moving swiftly on. that was for International Women's Day, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. So that's a couple of events I've been to with F Entrepreneur and Michelle Evans, who's been an inspiration to me, actually. She's a marvellous woman. So yeah, I've done quite a lot, and I think I get bored if I've not got more than one thing going on. Most recently, so in September last year, I took a board position with a financial services business, which I think I spoke about earlier, as a head of strategic communications, which I absolutely loved every minute of it. Unfortunately, coronavirus has put an end to that, and I've stepped away from the business for a while. That I no longer have a contract with them, so that's me out of financial services. I may well go back in because I quite enjoyed that. But I think that that's another thing that's really knocked me. I think everybody's struggling with this lockdown. But I went away to Mexico on the 9th of March for a girly holiday. And I came back to the UK on the 20th. And on the 20th, I got a phone call saying that they would have to let me go. So to go from having a brilliant time in Mexico to then thinking, shit, how am I going to get home from Mexico? Because our flights were through the US and we couldn't go to the US because we were going to be quarantined. So we booked our own flights back from Cancun to Manchester, but the car was in London. Oh my God, yeah, just drama. Got the car driven back and ended up back at home, and then got a phone call to tell me I'd not got a job. So currently, well, here's the positive bit of it. I have got a job because I have my own businesses. So I'm very lucky in that I've managed to keep going, keep my brain active. I've been helping a lot of people with the Sybil's business interruption loan, because we're a stakeholder with with British Business Bank. So I've been involved in that, but helping rural businesses really to understand what help is available to them, what we can do to kind of point them in the right direction for help and assistance, because I think everybody's going to struggle. The one thing that we have to remember is to try not to panic too much, because everybody's in the same position.
Yeah.
I think you have to remember what's important. Health is important. The health of your families is important, and then just keep your head, keep mentally well. If we keep mentally well, then we can get through anything really. So, but obviously, stay at home as well. Stay at home. But yeah, so multiple things always going on, and I think this is another turning point for me. I took things quite personally again when I was first told that I no longer had a job, but actually what it's enabled me to do is to think about, again, what is it that I want to do? What is it that drives me on? And the best bit of a job is always at the start, when you can make a real impact. And I've really enjoyed doing that for the business that I've just been working for. Hopefully those changes will pick back up again once things settle down. But what am I going to do next? I don't know. Watch this space, really. It's quite exciting.
It seems to have taken you less time to get over this one.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with resilience, isn't it? Because once you know you've overcome something once, I keep saying, how many times can I end up on my arse? Because that's what keeps happening. You do all this. Oh, it's great. Oh God, I'm back down again on my arse. But you know what? Every time you get up and you're a little bit stronger, I've got good people around me. I've got people that have told me it's nothing to do with my ability. It's simply to do with the market situation. And I've questioned, in my dark bits, I do question, will I ever get a job again? And then I think, do you know what, Anna? Of course you'll get a job again, because you can make your own job if you really want to. I've got this marvellous insight now into being a person that's a bit different, having a different kind of brain. People actually want to listen to your story and want to understand what it's like to have ADHD. Not just because people have ADHD, so people with ADHD or who think they might have ADHD find it quite interesting, but also from the point of view, it's becoming increasingly important that businesses diversify their workforces. And having somebody, and this is what working in financial services has shown me really, having somebody who's very different. And believe me, I was very different in this organisation, not least because I was a senior woman, senior middle-aged woman. So coming up probably nearer 50 than 40 now, when my next birthday is, but also one with a very different brain and a very different way of thinking, very big picture, not about facts and figures necessarily, although I can use them to back things up, but really big picture stuff. And being that different person. I mean, neurodiverse covers things like autism, dyspraxia, dyslexia, all sorts of different things. And I think that a business can only be better for having people that are different within it, because if you're all clones, you just do the same, everybody does the same things. So it's nice to have lots of different sorts of brains, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Totally agree.
I'm just reflecting. So it's interesting that I've always thought I was dyspraxic, and I've recently come to think that I have ADHD as well, but I've not been tested for either. So reading the list of symptoms, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe, and then
tick all the boxes.
Yeah, I tick all the boxes, which is interesting. I was always that one, like, is it just me? It's like, it's bloody obvious what the solution is. What's wrong with everybody?
But that's been me, and I think that I've struggled through my career, certainly when I was at British Gas as well, that I could see the answer very, very quickly. But as a young woman, I was in my early 20s at that point, and I was telling the senior managers what their strategy needed to be, because I could see it. I can tell you that that's right. And they don't listen. They wouldn't listen because I'm a young 20-something and look like this. I'm 6 foot tall and blonde, so people automatically think I'm a little bit of a bimbo. And I think that contributes to the chip on my shoulder as well. People think I'm stupid. I've not been able to live up to my academic ability, so to speak. So I imagine if I had my IQ tested, if I could actually do the test by sitting still long enough, it'd be all right. But I just haven't been able to do it. So there's a lot of things that contribute to, and this comes down to the difference between confidence and self-esteem. So I'm a very confident person. Put me in front of a House of Lords Select Committee, and I'll tell them what they're doing wrong and what needs to change. If you ask me what I actually think of myself, I spend a lot of time beating myself up about not being a very good mum, about not being a very good friend or a very good sister. That I'm a bit, is it me? Am I this way because why have they let me go? am I actually really rubbish at my job? Have I done something wrong? So I'm constantly questioning myself, and usually coming to conclusions that aren't necessarily true. But years of therapy have helped me to understand that I am a very, very self-aware person now. And questioning is good. And you question that. It means you're aware of what your strengths and weaknesses are. One of the things I believe in quite strongly is that we should actually play to our strengths. A lot of people say that you should work on your weaknesses, but I think, what the hell's the point? Because I am never going to be that detailed person. And actually what I can contribute by being me and having that big picture, and if people believe me and kind of listen to me, and I can say, yes, that's the way to go, I can contribute far more by influencing people in that way than trying to be a detailed person, and trying to work on spreadsheets and do project management. No, thank you very much. Just give that to a nice project manager to do. And that's what I love, to be able to work collaboratively as part of a team, to get things done, really. Exciting.
Yeah. I used to have almost fights with learning and development people, it's like this random psychologist saying, no, just focus on what you're good at and mitigate, automate and delegate the stuff that you're not very good at. And they're like, no, but you need to go on another time management course. I'm like, you can send as many time management courses as you want, but I'm still going to use my phone to tell me where I need to be.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get any better at time management.
And I think that, the psychiatrist, when I was diagnosed, has said to me, well, how do you manage? And I'm like, I first of all decided not to take any medication for my ADHD because I didn't think I needed it. And one psychiatrist, who shall not be named, said to me, well, I'm not going to diagnose you then, because if you were bad enough, you'd take the medication, which goes against every guideline in the book, as far as I can tell. However, I also tried to explain to him that, look, I've had ADHD my whole life. I've spent 42 years at the time creating ways to get on. I always put my keys in the same place, because if I didn't put them in the same place, there'd be no hope in finding them. I'd find them in the fridge or down the back of just no hope in finding them. So everything that's important has a place. Not everything has a place. If you saw my house, you'd... it's
we can leave the tidy bit here, can we?
Yeah, shit tip. It's tidy behind me because I've literally just tidied it. But my house isn't tidy, but I know every night my phone gets plugged in at the same place. My phone is always on me, and people get frustrated with that. But I know if I put my phone down, I'm not finding that phone. It's gone. Keys always in the same place. I have an app on my phone called Due that pings at me, and it pings and pings and pings at me until I dismiss something or I do it. So I can either tick it off and it doesn't need doing, I can forward it a couple of hours. So it's just a reminder system, but I live and die by that, because even my diary's not enough, because some days I just can't be asked to look at my diary, so I don't. So I need this constant pinging in my ear, so it's an auditory signal. Oh, shit, you've got something. So I know as soon as that pings, I've got something's on my phone. I'm supposed to be somewhere. And my old colleague Scott at work used to laugh at me, because I found it quite difficult working within this latest corporate environment, because I had meetings upon meetings upon meetings. And you can tell from this podcast, I can talk and talk and talk. So I get there and I'll be on the phone, and Scott's like, Anna, you're supposed to be in another meeting. I'm like, shit, am I? When? Half an hour ago you were supposed to be in the other meeting. So I'd constantly be running from one meeting to the next. And he was my go-to. He'd be like, how many meetings have you got today? And I'll be like, oh, I've got 5. He'd be like, what times are they? And I'll remind you, because my phone would be pinging, but I'd be on the phone to somebody else. So he's like, Annie, your phone's pinging. I'm like, oh yes, I've got to go now. I've got to go to another meeting. So it's having people around you to help. You two are laughing because does this ring some bells for you?
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, because if I'm going to do a call at 2:00, quite happily it's 10 to 2. Go downstairs, make a cup of coffee, go and have a wee, and he's like totally freaking out because it's like, your call's on, and texting me, the call's on. I'm like, dude,
I'll get on the call if I'm a couple of minutes late. Nobody dies.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's forever texting me saying, what time's your call?
Are you late though, Michelle? Do you turn up late for things?
I think I'm optimistic with my time. Yeah, always
You
late.
see, I and that's another thing that I've learned, because I'm absolutely the opposite. I will be there half an hour before a meeting, just to know that I'm there, because actually I get quite stressed about the fact that I've got no sense of time. So it makes me really anxious not to be somewhere really early.
If it's trains or planes or that sort of thing, I get like proper train anxiety if I'm not at the train station in time and that sort of thing. But
my ex used to laugh at me because I'd be travelling on an 8:20 train, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm at the station." He's like, "I know, it's 7 o'clock." I'm like, "Yeah, but I had to be here in time. I don't know. It's only 10 minutes. I only live 10 minutes from the station." In the car. But I'm like, well, there might have been traffic on the way or something. He's like, what are you going to do for an hour? I'm like, well, I'm here now, so I can have a coffee and I can read the paper and not stress about the fact I'm not going to be there on time. Absolutely always over the top with being early for everything, because I can't bear the thought of being late. And my business partner Gemma is quite often late, and we've always laughed, but I always say to her, I think it's really rude to be late, actually, because it implies that your time's more important than mine, because I've already been here for half an hour. And if you're half an hour late, I've been here for an hour waiting. So, yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? But, yeah, very, very much no sense of time. Once I get into something, I can sit for 6 hours at my computer without batting an eyelid if I'm doing something that needs to be done, without getting up for a wee or eating or drinking. Which is not good, is it, really?
Yeah. If I'm like doing a website or something.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing.
Yeah.
Creative.
I was doing a website for James's sister last night, and she was kept asking me questions. I'm like, I think he got a bit upset because I was like, just leave me alone, I'm doing something.
Yeah, I can't even. But when somebody talks to you when you're in that zone, it just bounces off. It doesn't actually even go in. So my ex used to sit there and go, I don't know, and I'd be like, I know you're talking at me, but I've not heard a word you've said because I'm not actually listening. And he'd be like, that's so rude. I'm like, I'm sorry, you can see I'm doing something. I don't mean to be really rude. My brain's just not computing this at all. It's just, I can't do it. If it's like my ears have been shut off by the fact that I'm concentrating so hard. You hear this, no. That's quite good when you've got children, really, and that's all they do. Mum, I'm ignoring you. I can't hear.
Sometimes it's difficult to both drive and listen to children.
Oh,
it's like drink driving's nothing compared to having kids in the car, is it?
No, thankfully I don't drive with them very often, and if I do, it's only a short way to their dad's house. So everything's in the village. It's quite good, mind you. We've got, well, saying that, whether we'll be able to go, we've got a holiday booked in Norfolk, and I'm taking the 2 girls, the dog, and one of Scarlett's friends, and that's 2.5 hours away. So I've got 3 girls and a dog in the car for 2.5 hours. I'm not quite sure I'll survive that. So watch this space. It might be cancelled yet.
Okay, so what would you say are your super strengths?
My super strengths, I don't know. Ability to multitask and to see the big picture. Absolutely a huge strength. And whether you'd say this is a strength, it's a strength and a weakness, but authenticity. I think being your authentic self and being able to not put on airs and graces and just be you. I mean, Michelle, you and I hit it off very, very quickly at the House of Lords. It was quite funny, really. But I find that quite often with people with ADHD. You start to talk to them and it's like you've known each other your whole life, and somebody's sitting by, James, somebody watching goes, oh my God, what's happening here? And these 2 people are just talking about things, and you're thinking, God, how long have they known each other? You know, there is all sorts of things now. So it's being that authentic self, but also that can be a weakness when you're in a business like or a sector like financial services, because I don't want to say there are not many authentic people, but there are a lot of people that are a lot more guarded. And I think sometimes that can go against you when you're very open and honest and you're not playing politics or hiding behind something or not telling the whole story. I don't do that. You get what, this is the way it should be. I think we called it, what was it calling it? There's a special word for it. It'll come to me. Carry on. But
I call that's a spade.
Yeah, but it is. It's just kind of being that and telling the truth. Yeah, not telling half truths, but telling the full truth and letting people make up their own mind. And I think a lot of big organisations kind of shy away from giving too much information for the fact that people then think, people make up their own minds. But absolutely. And if you're conducting yourself in an ethical and sound way, you should have no problem with people knowing everything. So I think that's really important from a communications point of view.
Definitely. Have we missed anything that you wanted to talk about?
Oh God, no, I just can talk forever. So you've got your special questions now, though.
We've got some special questions, yes. So yes, this is the quick fire round.
Oh, don't tell me quick, because I can't do quick, Michelle.
Fine. We can edit your pauses out. It's grand.
Okay.
Question number 1. So what event would you like to know the whole and complete truth about?
That's a good one, isn't it? Oh my God, so on the spot. The whole and complete truth. I can't say the one I want to say.
Tell us anyway, we'll edit it out.
About why they actually got rid of me from my job.
Oh.
Yeah. So you can't. No. But that would be interesting. What do I want to know the whole and complete truth about?
Whether 5G causes coronavirus.
Oh God, no. I'd actually like to know the whole and complete truth about Mr. Trump and his dealings and how he got into power. I would love to know that, because I think it's a lot more intricate than we perhaps have been led to believe, but I'd just like to know the truth, because I think it's incredibly important for the world. But let's just move on from that. But yeah, I think that would be what I'd like to know the truth about, and that's a little bit political, but
that'd be interesting. Okie. So my question is, what is the best thing that's happened to you this month?
What's the best thing that's happened to me this month? What month are we even in?
April.
Oh God, we're only just in April.
We can do March as well.
We're going to do March. I'm on holiday in Mexico. Getting drunk on the beach on margaritas, having far too many, and falling asleep on a daybed and waking up at 10 o'clock at night thinking, oh, trying to get back to the room. That was great. With the sound of the ocean, just having a little snooze on a daybed till 10 o'clock. It was marvellous. And I have to tell everybody to go to Costa Menieres. No. Oh God, I've forgotten what they're called. Yeah, it's north of Cancun, an amazing place. But they made everybody, they let 220 people go the day that we were coming home. On that, it was absolutely, it was a beautiful, beautiful place. So Mexico was my most wonderful thing that's happened to me. Yes.
Awesome.
Muy bien. So the next question, what animal would be the most terrifying if it could speak?
Oh my God! Now, I've got a phobia of a certain animal, or I don't know whether you probably not even call it an animal. Maybe you call it a mollusk. Is it a mollusk? I'm phobic of slugs. So actually, I think slugs would be quite terrifying, because they might be quite like Jabba the Hutt. Well, is he a slug? He is a bit of a slug. I don't know what he is. But can you imagine? Because they've got all this. I can imagine with all this drippy out their mouths and their slime. I just think they're horrible. Slug. You weren't expecting that one, were you? No.
Depend on the accent, I suppose.
Yes, what kind of accent would a slug have, do you think? A Geordie slug. Do it.
Geordie slug.
And it would be all slobbery. Slobbery and...
Oh, yeah. That's more like Sid the Sloth from the Ice Age movies. Be less terrifying. Guys, it's Sid the Sloth.
That's a good one.
That would be less scary.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Brilliant. Okay, so then if we pulled up in our time machine and you could get in and get out and speak to your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give to her?
Believe in yourself, trust yourself, and follow your intuition, I think. I think as the older I get, the more I think that everything that I need is inside me already to make the decisions that I need to make. Obviously, we can all learn, but actually intuition goes an awful long way. And I think if something doesn't feel right, then don't do it. If it feels right, but you don't think it's something that people would necessarily think you should be doing, do it anyway, give it a go. Yeah, just trust your intuition and know that you're enough. Know that you're enough. I'm telling myself that every single day. Know that you're enough. That's the mantra. So, yeah.
Oh, that's lovely.
It is.
It's been awesome to speak to you.
You're very welcome. I've loved it. Obviously, everybody loves talking about themselves, don't they? So.
If someone is interested in following you, getting in touch, what's the best way to find you?
Oh, probably not on Instagram because my stories are a bit wild, aren't they? In the first instance, I guess it's to go to the Rural Business Group or the Rural Business Awards, which is www.ruralbusinessawards.co.uk or ruralbusinessgroup.co.uk. And I have a website of my own that isn't really up to date, so you can have a little look at that and see whether you think that. And my personal website is www.anna-price.co.uk. So I talk a little bit more on there about strategy consultancy and marketing. So that's me.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Well, thank you ever so much for joining us today. And
you're very welcome.
Let's talk again.
Yes, I can't wait. Thank you for having me.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening. Check out all the show notes at inspirationnorth.com. Join us again for the next episode when we'll be chatting to another inspirational person. If you like this, subscribe and tell your friends. If you didn't like this, subscribe anyway and tell everybody.